Next, I'd like to welcome up Nicholas Michael Bashour. Nicholas Michael Bashour is grateful for two things in his life: the wonderful team he worked with on the Wikimedia DC conference, is that right? As well as cheap yet palatable coffee that
keep me
fuels
awake.
his caffeine addiction. Nicholas Michael Bashour.
I inherited several great things from my parents: compassion, uh, a lot of curiosity and knowledge. Unfortunately, not my dad's perfect jawline. Yes, thanks a lot for that, man. But I did inherit one thing, and that is a love of collaboration. My dad really believed in the power of networks, technical networks like the internet, to bring people together and allow them to do something that is great and beyond themselves. But our ability to collaborate goes beyond the internet and way past the internet. In fact, it goes way past and before humans. Chimps are the first, aside from humans, species to be able to collaborate in a way that is beyond their individual needs and beyond their own self. Now, this is in sharp contrast to group behavior in a lot of other species, where it's driven by their own selfish individual needs, and that drives people to group behavior simply because they need to satisfy themselves. And as we've inherited our ability to collaborate and work in groups from our cousins the chimps, we can also blame our ability to focus on our selfish needs for why we have, of course, Wall Street investors. Now, we also, but we don't have to go so far to look for great examples of wonderful collaboration. We can look, for example, at the first temple in Jerusalem, 3,000 years in the past, where it was built not only by the Jewish people and King Solomon, but also by the Phoenicians. We can turn to Macedonia and to Alexander the Great, who was great, not just because he conquered half the world, but because he brought the people from around the world and from various different cultures when he settled in Babylon and had them collaborate. We can also look at Japan's isolationist policy, where for hundreds of years you faced the death penalty if you were to have contact with outsiders. But even that did not stop them from relying on other cultures, particularly when it comes to science and medicine. And science particularly is one of the greatest facilitators of global collaboration, as you can see this in this picture from 1911, and where you have scientists from Germany, from France, and from Austro-Hungary, and we don't have to talk about what happened 3 years after that between those countries. But fast forward 90 years to January 15th, 2001, and that's when Jimbo Wales unleashed Wikipedia onto the masses of the unsuspecting world. And in a short 11 years, we went from 20,000 articles to 20.5 million articles in 282 different languages. If you can learn one language every 2 months, it'll still take you 47 years just to read one article in Wikipedia. Now, but all of this work together brings us to the largest, most comprehensive, copiously detailed, stunningly useful encyclopedia in all of human history. And this was put together by simple, everyday people. And that's just the beginning. There isn't just Wikipedia. There's stuff like Wikibooks, which is a collection of free open source textbooks. There's stuff like Wikimedia Commons, which hosts millions, literally millions of free images and media files. And this is all the work, like I said, of everyday people, but it's facilitated by the Wikimedia Foundation and 39 global chapters that cover literally all over the world. And we don't just sit around all day hitting the edit button and submitting citation needed marks, of course. We go out and do stuff, and when we do something, the world notices. Now, if you try to go on Wikipedia on January 18th, it was blacked out. But there were notices in every language across the world, and people in various countries were learning about what we were doing here. And after we did that, we went out on the streets. And when we went out on the streets, people noticed. And an international treaty known as ACTA was brought to its knees by people like you and me. And this is great because this is an international treaty that we had an effect on. And also then we went out and we got drinks because we know how to drink really well. But also after we go out and we do protests, we come back home and we write about them. And as you can see here, I noticed this image in the previous presentation. Citation needed, man. But we have people come to Wikipedia to read about stuff like the Arab Springs, and we have millions and hundreds of people who come to read about it, write about it, document it. So in the 3 hours that you're going around Wikipedia, randomly, aimlessly, take 5 minutes, just 5 minutes on a Sunday afternoon to correct a mistake, submit a new edit, That's all it really takes for you to join this global movement. But if you want to be a bigger part of the movement, then just come to George Washington University between July 12th and 15th, because we are bringing the world to Washington, D.C., and you can be a part of that too. So thank you very much.